Welcome to our channel. Today we bring you the list of the top 10 best movies of 2020. It's fair to say that 2020 hasn't quite gone as anyone planned or expected. And while it's largely been an exceedingly difficult year, the past 6 months have still brought us a string of stellar movies offering escapism, comfort, and catharsis in unprecedented times. If the film landscape at this halfway mark looks very different than we expected, no Bond, Black Widow, or A Quiet Place Part 2 yet, there's been a considerable number of unexpected gems and attention-grabbing releases, some of which managed to hit the big screen, others emerging on streaming services and VOD. Before you continue, please click on the subscribe button below and press the bell icon for regular updates. Number 10 is Bad Boys for Life. Bad Boys 2 may have been elevated to the action pantheon by Danny Butterman's hero worship in Hot Fuzz, but its aggressive combination of excess, explosions, and erections was unpalatable at the time and hasn't aged well, so the prospect of a threequel, almost 2 decades on, was an unedifying one. But shorn of Michael Bay and his death by a thousand-cut school of action filmmaking, Bad Boys for Life is one of the most pleasant, blockbusting surprises of recent years. There's still a fair amount of bang and no little banter, but new directing team Adil and Bilal bring unexpected emotion to the party, as Will Smith and Martin Lawrence's super cops finally begin to face up to the fact that they may, genuinely, be too old for this shit. And if all else fails, the line, "Mike, a married witch," is one for the ages. What you gonna do? Number 9 is The Way Back. Why it's great. Disciplined in its approach and unapologetic about its contrivances, Ben Affleck's baseball coaching crisis drama, The Way Back, is a sports movie that understands the fundamentals. What it lacks in flashiness or ingenuity, the underdog narrative of a crappy team hitting its stride under the leadership of a gruff coach, hits all the requisite Hoosiers notes. It makes up for with an oddly enthralling downbeat craftsmanship. Little details like the freeze frame when the score of games pop up on the screen or the click-clack percussion-heavy music accumulate emotional power over the film's brisk runtime. Playing a washed-up ex-athlete with an immediately apparent drinking problem and a number of strategically hidden personal demons, Affleck delivers a weary performance that resonates with his off-screen persona and his recent tabloid headlines in ways both obvious and surprising. In brief stretches, director Gavin O'Connor, who helmed the similarly intense melodramas Miracle and Warrior, pulls off the ultimate sports movie trick of making you believe the character's redemption isn't inevitable. Every win is a battle, even if you know the results going in. Number 8 is Bill and Ted Face the Music. Bill and Ted Face the Music feels firmly like a movie made for the fans, and why shouldn't it be? It's a loving retread of everything that made the previous movies work, a greatest hits album for a band at the end of a storied career. And this truly is the end of Bill and Ted's story, according to creators Ed Solomon and Chris Matheson. But it's a totally non-heinous way for the duo to bow out. If you thought Bill, Alex Winter, and Ted, Keanu Reeves, would become rock gods after creating world peace in Bogus Journey, you'd be mistaken. After an opening montage about wild stallions in the decade since the sequel, we reunite with the duo as they perform at the latest wedding for Missy, the returning Amy Stock. They're still trying to create the music that will bring global harmony and failing miserably. Number 7 is True History of the Kelly Gang. George McKay follows up a breakout role in 1917 as notorious 19th century Aussie bushranger Ned Kelly in this visually arresting punk rock biopic. The polarizing figure is seen from his days as an innocent Irish lad learning lawless ways to the anarchic, armor-clad young man leading a band of dress-wearing rebels. An exploration of Australian bushranger Ned Kelly and his gang as they attempt to evade authorities during the 1870s. Justin Kurzel detonates a punk power chord of defiance and anarchy with this brutally violent and unflinchingly stark tale that unfolds in a scorched, alien-looking landscape. The film is adapted by Sean Grant from Peter Carey's book prize-winning novel, and it is a further variation on the legend of Ned Kelly, the 19th century Australian outlaw and bushranger at war with the English colonial oppressor. Kurzel's rock and roll Kelly has a bit more in common with the spirit of Mick Jagger's portrayal in Tony Richardson's 1970 film treatment than with Heath Ledger's in the 2003 version. Number 6 is Greyhound. U.S. Navy Commander Ernest Krause is assigned to lead an Allied convoy across the Atlantic during World War II. His convoy, however, is pursued by German U-boats. Although this is Krause's first wartime mission, he finds himself embroiled in what would come to be known as the longest, largest, and most complex naval battle in history, the Battle of the Atlantic. Greyhound is a 2020 American war film directed by Aaron Schneider and starring Tom Hanks, who also wrote the screenplay. The film is based on the 1955 novel The Good Shepherd by C.S. Forester and also stars Stephen Graham, Rob Morgan, and Elizabeth Shue. Number 5 is The Assistant. The Assistant is 2020's most prescient film. Kitty Green's quietly startling second feature is a film made for the time's up moment, but has enough feeling and nuance to never feel preachy. Jane, Julia Garner, is a recent graduate working as an assistant in a seemingly blossoming independent film company. For 20 minutes or so, Green details the mundanities of Jane's job, slowly revealing the microaggressions that come with a male-dominated environment, making her dilemmas over enabling her never-seen antics all the more real. If the model here is Harvey Weinstein, Green's film is more ambitious, landing on something more universal and systemic. It's sharp, sophisticated, essential viewing. Number 4 is Tigertail. A redemptive tale told over several decades, the excellent family drama centers on a stoic Taiwanese man, Z Ma, struggling to connect with his workaholic daughter, Christine Ko, while revisiting his fateful decision years earlier to leave love behind and travel to America in search of a better life. Tigertail develops a case for its modest aims. A slow-burn immigrant drama with visual polish to spare, the movie molds the leisurely plot into a lush moving portrait of American dreams undercut by harsh reality checks. Yang infuses his earnest, semi-fictionalized story, inspired by his own father's experiences, with the evocative narrative traditions of modern Asian cinema, from Wong Kar-wai to Edward Yang, resulting in a rich and intimate atmosphere at every turn. While the movie doesn't achieve the narrative mastery of its influences, Yang's first feature has a touching emotional through line grounded in authenticity. Number 3 is Da 5 Bloods. In the weeks after the killing of George Floyd, which sparked major Black Lives Matter protests across the world, Spike Lee released another incredibly timely work speaking to the intersection of American racism and imperialism in the Vietnam War. Part war film, part adventure thriller, Lee's film sees 4 American soldiers, played by Clark Peters, Isaiah Whitlock Jr., Norm Lewis, and standout Delroy Lindo, reunite in present-day Vietnam. Their mission? To uncover the body of their fallen leader, Stormin' Norman, Chadwick Boseman, and the cache of gold they abandoned in the jungle long ago. The result is, well, a Spike Lee joint, switching tones and registers with skill and ease as sweet reunions give way to tense confrontation and old wounds are reopened. Entering the 5th decade of his career, Lee has lost none of his power, nor his playfulness. Number 2 is Hamilton. This is a bit of a ringer, a filmed production of a mega-popular game-changing musical that's arguably the biggest thing on Broadway ever. Still, Lin-Manuel Miranda's rap-filled vehicle about Alexander Hamilton and the early days of America is an awesome history lesson and fascinating character study filled with infectious songs. It's probably the only 2020 movie that'll be taught in high school history classes for decades to come. Speaking of Miranda, his award-winning retelling of the Founding Fathers, using one of the most diverse casts in Broadway history, is now available to stream. If the timing is confusing to you, the play Hamilton came out after Miranda became known for the play version of In the Heights, even though this is being released first. Fans would love a movie adaptation of Hamilton, but TBD on that. This recording of the original cast promises to be even better than the front row seats. In it, viewers go directly on stage to witness the epic, sometimes spitty performances. Number 1 is Dick Johnson is Dead. Watching Kirsten Johnson's kind-hearted dad, Richard Dick Johnson, get crushed by an air conditioning unit, struck by a car, and knocked in the head by a construction beam provides a startling thrill. These strange little experiments, staged by his filmmaker daughter and carried out by seasoned stunt professionals, form the structural backbone for this tender documentary, a work of memoir sprinkled with touches of the surreal. Instead of just making a portrait of her father, a cheery psychiatrist from Washington, Johnson constructs a film that attempts to confront a universal fear by delving into matters of process, death, terrifying and unconquerable, becomes an art project. Like with an episode of Nathan for You, or sure, even Jackass, there's a delicate tonal line being walked. Why does Dick agree to go along with these elaborate stunts? The simple answer, he loves his daughter, becomes increasingly clear as Dick Johnson is dead unfolds. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Comment down below which movie do you like the most.